Hi, I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford. I'm joined with Justin Callender, who is a business owner,
Yes, sir.
music producer, and chef. Man of many talents. Justin, thanks for being here.
Thank you. No problem, brother. Appreciate you.
And so, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you coming from today?
I'm coming from just specifically driving from Fall River, that's where I live now. You know?
Okay. Is that where you're from?
No. So I was born in New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yeah. My parents are from Jersey City.
Okay.
But we moved when I was a kid, you know, so I don't have too much memories as living there, but we've gone back and forth. So I grew up in New Bedford, but, you know, grandparents, uncles, cousins was there, so travel back and forth. You know, it's like a 4-hour drive, so we would do that a couple of times a year, holidays. So I'm familiar with the city, but from New Bedford for sure, you know.
Okay. And so, man of many talents, man of many passions, what would you say was your first passion that you noticed, you know, you're kind of good at?
Yeah, man, growing up, I think it was sports, you know.
Okay. Tell me a little
Which
bit
I
about
think
that.
it is hard to be passionate about sports as an adult, you know what I mean? Like as a kid, you're like, man, go into the league or like whatever, you know, you got that drive. But yeah, so my first, so just growing up as a kid, I was always athletic, just running around, playing manhunt, that type of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Then I think in elementary school, maybe 4th grade, I started baseball. Which wasn't a passion, wasn't good at it. You know what I mean? Just
It's a hard
jumped in.
sport.
Yeah. You know,
what position?
I don't even remember, bro. You know,
Probably
I was outfield. I was outfield.
Same.
Yeah, outfield. And then at some point, I did get into pitching a little bit the second year,
Okay.
which I wasn't as bad, but again, I didn't have the passion for it.
Yeah.
But my coaches, shout out to the Davenport brothers. You know, they had the baseball team. Then that same year, they were starting a football team, so it was new for them.
Sure.
So they were like, "Hey, listen, this is gonna be your thing. You're fast, strong." So that's when I really got into football, and I would watch a little bit, you know, as a kid, but I didn't know too much about it. But then that's when I started to really get into it and take over. You know, that was my sport, football.
And what'd you play?
So I was running back. Yeah, running back.
Okay.
And then on defense, it's tough as a kid because you're like safety, linebacker. Like, you know, if you're one of the best athletes, they kind of just put you where it needed to be. You know what I'm saying? But offense was running back. That's what I was known for.
Okay.
It's funny, growing up, a lot of kids didn't know my real name because my nickname in sports was Wheels. That's what my coach called me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they found out my name was Justin, you know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, that's your name." So
you were so
the whole league
still
just
call
knew
you
me.
Wheels?
Yeah.
You still hear that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
People from New Bedford who knew me back then.
For
you know what I
sure.
mean? So it's funny to hear. It brings back good memories, you know?
Okay. And so after sports, so after high school, then you kind of moved on from sports, you'd say?
A little bit. So I did run track at Stonehill College for a little bit.
Cool.
But it gets tough because track is one of those things, right? You know, you're growing into an adult. You're doing it because you love it, but it's like you're trying to think maybe more long term. Like, hey, is this how I should be spending my time? And I was also introduced to music at the same time, you know?
Okay.
So it seems like I always move on from a passion once I find the next thing. So baseball is like, all right, football, all right, forget baseball, you know?
Yeah, okay,
And
totally
then-
move on.
Yeah,
Okay,
then
don't look
actually
back.
I forgot to say, even in high school, I didn't play football the whole 4 years because then I got into track. You know, so I was more passionate about that, wasn't really feeling football, and then track kind of took over as the next thing.
Okay.
And then same thing happened in college with music, which is, I feel like was more long-term. You could build businesses, you know, you can make music forever. So it seemed to fit, and I was like, you know, I'm excited about where this might take me, you know?
And how did you get introduced to music?
So my mother, I was gonna say boyfriend, but fiance now. You know,
Sure,
they just
okay.
got engaged recently, so congrats to them.
Yeah, for sure.
He's a music producer, so that was my first time seeing it on the screen, seeing the laptop, seeing the keyboard.
The whole
and
setup.
it looks weird to a stranger, right? You don't know what's going on, the colors,
At all.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah,
super
it looks
confusing.
crazy, so.
Overwhelming even.
But yeah, definitely overwhelming. But it's cool to see, you know, just to be like, oh, you can make music from scratch, and you know, I'm introduced to it now. You just think it's just like outside thing for, you know what I mean? Like,
It's
you
like a
know,
whole nother language.
Yeah, it is. It's like a whole nother world.
I totally
so
know what you mean.
Unless you grow up around it, you just feel like it's just reserved for a certain group of people, and you're like, it's not for me. Maybe, you know what I mean? Just you don't know microphones, you don't know the computer, all the stuff.
You don't even see it as a possibility.
Yeah, you don't even know about it. Yeah, it's just like something that's just out there, but you don't, you know. So yeah, so I was introduced to that in college, and then when I would go visit, you know, my mother and them, I would be on the laptop late. You know, just when he goes to sleep, like, all right, let me mess with the beats.
For
Let me figure this
sure.
out. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay.
While I sleep, I'm up 3 in the morning messing with it.
Wow, okay.
And then eventually I did get the demo on my own laptop so I can kind of do it on my own. And then eventually you bought the program and then really get into it, and just that passion that kind of just takes over, you know? Which is different from sports because sports you're limited. You do it for a couple hours, your body gets tired versus music, you can make music for hours and then wake up and do it again. So it was like really this passion that kind of took over a lot of my time, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. And music is so interesting because it's a project that you can save and then pick up again. Like with sports, I guess, I mean, you can like go to practice or go to a game, but like it can really be a tangible thing that you can work on and turn into something.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, was it really just the production side, or did you see yourself singing or rapping too?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of people just growing up listening to hip hop might freestyle a little bit, like with friends or
At least
whatever.
try it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But no, that was my introduction to music in general, just making the beats, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then while being on campus, I found some people who were rapping. So that was my introduction to like the introduction to the recording side, which is way different than the production, like the mic and how do you set it up and what are you doing. So yeah, just started writing more, you know, rapping to some of the beats and, you know, going back and forth. So yeah, it was weird because I feel like right away, you know, you kind of suck at anything you start, you know?
Yeah,
you know,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, I feel like immediately though, I feel like I was a better writer and a rapper than a beat maker. Like it's harder to pick up. Because as a rapper, you know how to rhyme words and like you can figure out a flow.
You've
and
been
like
writing your whole life.
You know what I mean? That's something.
Never tried production.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So that was something. Beat making is something I struggled with for a while, and then rapping, I wasn't great, but I picked it up a little bit faster. So I kind of, you know, I got to a point where like I'm a better rapper than I am producer. I didn't want to rap over my beats. You know what I mean? Like
why was that?
It's just the beats weren't there enough. Like I wanted to rap over like a song that I knew and like take the beat from YouTube.
Sure,
you know?
okay.
Versus my beats, like the drums are not there. I don't know what I'm doing. It just it didn't inspire me to rap on. I just knew I was still learning.
I totally know what you mean.
You know? So I was just buying beats from like YouTube or working with other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you know the game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So. But then eventually I got tired of that, you know, just searching for beats. And I was like, man, I have to get back into production. That's how you can kind of control your sound.
Yeah.
Like any artist you think of who you really love, their sound is not only their voice and how they rap and what they do, but also the beat. Like maybe the beat's a little different, the tempo.
Yeah, they have their own.
They glue it together, you know what I mean?
Their kind of beat.
Exactly, yeah. So with the type beat, like you said, they're kind of mimicking other producers, so it's easier to find through the algorithm. But it's hard to come up with your own sound because they're trying to sound like other people. So it's like, man, if I want to beat like this, how do I'm tired of searching for it. I got to get back in. I got to dive in, and it sucked at first, but eventually I found a groove and a rhythm, and now I think it's pretty even. Like I don't even know which one I'm passionate about more or which one I'm better at. Like I don't even know. I let the people judge. I don't even know anymore. You know what I mean? So.
And so, have you put anything out yet?
So I did. So I've put out projects in college, like little mixtapes.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, type beats, whatever it is.
On what platform?
So yeah, it was on Apple Music and Spotify and stuff. They were out, you know what I mean? Yeah, come on now.
Just plug it a little bit.
Yeah, so I put some projects out, but the last project I put out was 2018, I believe.
Okay.
So it's been some years.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So I know we're gonna talk about Amped and you know all that type of stuff.
For sure.
So I don't want to dive in too much, but.
Let's dive into Amped a little bit because we're going into music.
Yeah.
And so, was you said before we started the interview that the first part of Amped was the open mics. Okay. And so, how did your interest in music transfer into poetry?
That's a good question. I was just about to get into that, so I think you picked up on it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I got you.
That's genius. So, yeah, so last project I put out was 2018. That was like maybe my third mixtape, but just slowly getting better and better, but still not there yet. But you know, you can feel the talent and like, you know, you get comfortable with it.
You're growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that project, it's like, you know, a lot of people make music and they're not used to the promotion or the networking. You could just make music from your house and not meet anybody and try to put it out. But of course, you're not going to see many results. It's just friends and family at that point, you know?
Yeah.
So I think by this third project, I started to feel like I was good enough where I should be getting some recognition from it. And it's frustrating trying to figure that out, you know? And that's where Amped came from, you know? Because I told myself after that project, I'm not releasing any music until I know people are gonna hear it. You know, so that was a real thing for me. Like I still made it, of course. Like, you know, I've been over the years, I've been making music, I've gotten way better. But I sat and I said, I have to figure out what's next. Like I didn't know where to start. I just said, I'm not putting out music until I figure out something.
How do you get it out there successally? How do you branch out?
Yeah. How do you meet people? How do you gain followers? Like, you know, I don't even know how to do it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, I was just thinking about as a local creator, like what's missing, what could kind of help out Massachusetts. You know, just trying to think of like how can I. Really, the thing that inspired it was I was a little jealous of like photographers.
Okay. Talk
so
about that.
basically, right, as an artist, you want people to listen to your stuff. but sometimes it feels a little one-sided, like selfish, you know?
Okay.
Like, hey, come check me out. It's like about you, right? You're trying to bring people to you.
Sure, a little
versus-
self-centered.
Yeah, you know
Can
what I mean?
feel like that.
Yeah. But you may feel like, hey, you're gonna love my music, but most of the people may not feel like that, you know?
Sure.
Versus a photographer, they could take a photo and you can enjoy that moment yourself. It's like mutual, you know?
Sure.
You see yourself and you're like, oh, this is a cool angle. Like, it makes you feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, how can I like get out there and meet people without having to introduce myself as an artist first?
Sure.
You know, not to say, hey, I make music, come check me out, but it's like, hey, I'm so-and-so and this is what I do. I can provide something for you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I started thinking of things and I just kind of came up with like a networking company. Like, you know, Amped is about networking. And then the poetry events was the first branch of like, you don't want to start too big, you know what I mean? So local poetry event, first one we did was in Brockton, because I had a music studio in Brockton. So we just started it there. Yeah, like 25, 30 people showed up, you know, and I just knew that's good enough. You can go from there.
Were you
know?
surprised? That's like kind of that's a
Decent
decent amount of people.
Yeah, that's decent.
For sure.
I wouldn't say I was surprised because I think we did enough promotion where hopefully we get about 20, 30, you know?
You're saying we? You got a team?
Yeah. So basically,
Okay.
So the team was and still is my man DJ Fresco. Shout out to Fresco.
Yeah.
You know, DJ. And the host at the time was my man Herbie, which I actually knew him from. Competed against him in high school track.
Oh, really?
And then we actually went to Stonehill together, which is pretty cool.
That's
you know?
interesting.
So we bumped
Okay.
into each other. Like,
For sure.
oh, Herbie, what's up?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, I pulled those guys in. Like, hey, I'm trying to do this. Help me out. So we had the DJ, we had the host, and I was kind of like. You know, I don't want to say the mind behind it because these guys are creative minds. So, yeah, but you know, trying to pull it together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we posted on social media. You know, Fresco is a DJ putting it out.
Yeah.
Herbie is the host putting it out because you know Herbie's been hosting for a while now. And then I also printed out the physical flyer and put it in the studio building in Brockton, just on everybody's door, like 200 doors, old school. Like, hey, somebody's gonna see it.
Yeah.
So between that, we're like, hey, hopefully we get a little snug group of people where we can feel the energy and it go well. So, you know.
Okay. And so you said that AMP stands for something. What does it stand for?
So AMPed is an acronym. It stands for artists, models, producers, photographers, engineers, and designers.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
okay. I've been to your events. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
That's really interesting. Say that one more time, please.
Yeah. Artists,
Artists,
models,
producers,
photographers, engineers, and designers.
And designers.
So it's hip hop based, but it doesn't have to be. Of course, a photographer can go do a shoot and not be hip hop based. But the idea was, hey, I make music. How do we get these people together? And it's like, if you had to do a full project, how could you meet? You know, everybody be local. You know, the other artists, other models for the video, whatever it is. Just how do we? Because you know, I feel like a lot of people kind of work by themselves. You know,
Yeah,
kind of like I
totally.
was. Like I said,
Totally.
with the project, you know, I was like, all right, I have to figure this out. But there's so many creators out there who are not connected. So I was like, man, we need to kind of come together. So that's where it came from. You know.
And how did you hook up with Fresco?
So I went to high school with him.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay.
So in high school we were cool, like you ran track. We weren't super tight, you know, like we didn't hang out after high school, but he was a cool guy, you know. Followed him on social media, so I knew he was doing his DJ thing.
Yeah, okay.
So as far as DJs, I was like, let me just hit up my guy from high school, see how he's feeling. And he I don't want to say used to, because maybe he still makes music. I don't want to put him on blast,
Sure,
but he
sure,
used
sure.
to rap.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
he used to rap. So I knew he was into the hip hop scene. So I was like, man, this is a perfect balance. Maybe he'll understand what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So DM'd him. And he was like, yeah, I'm looking for something like this because he does weddings, he does parties, but this is a little different. So this is kind of getting back to his roots, you know, and not just business, like, hey, I'm here for a check, but I'm passionate about this. This is cool. So I pulled him in. And Herbie, like I said, he hosts weddings and stuff. And, he was actually at one of the first poetry events that I went, not my own, just going. He was there helping his guys out. So I knew he kind of was familiar with how they were run. So I pulled him in as well. And then I was like, let's see what we could do, you know?
Wait, so you were going to other events, like poetry events, to scout out how to do it yourself?
No, so I actually the poetry events, even though it is the first branch of AMP, that's not how it started.
Or open mics?
Yeah, open mic. So that's not how AMP started.
Okay.
Originally, it was supposed to be a website where you can go and, let's say, the artist models, like it would be a tab that you can click and look at all the artists, all the photographers. You can create an account there, you know? So it's not to replace YouTube or Instagram, but more of like, how do you even find someone with a great Instagram? So it's like a bridge, like find them on AMPed and then you can kind of hit the links there. So that was the original idea, but it didn't pan out. So I had the name, I had the logo already, I had everything, and I'm kind of sitting on it, you know? And then Herbie invited me to one of his friends was doing a poetry event in Quincy, you know? So that was my first time being there, experience how it was run, just the energy, you know? So I'm asking them all night, you know, the DJs are kind of announcing like events. You know how they do, hey, next one is blah, blah, blah. But they weren't talking about the poetry. They were just talking about parties.
Oh, okay.
So the group, they mostly did parties. This poetry event was just a one-off.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I'm asking them like, hey, when's the next one? He's like, oh, there really is no next one. It's just a one-off thing. And I'm like, well, it was a big event. There was like 150 people there.
Wow. Okay.
You know, it was like in the venue, like a hotel venue. So you know how big those can get.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
big banquet or whatever. So I'm like, man, the room is packed. You guys are gonna just leave everybody hanging.
Like,
you know what I mean?
What about this momentum?
Yeah. Like this is crazy. You know, I was thinking like next month. You know, I'm listening for dates, and you know they weren't planning it. So I was like, man, maybe this is how AMP can get started, you know? Instead of
Fill
thinking
that void.
so big with the website, do a local event, pull some people in, and then slowly kind of branch back into hip-hop scene with music, hip-hop shows. But poetry is, because there's still a stigma around hip-hop, I feel like, especially for local rappers.
In what way?
You know? I don't know, man. I feel like you can be a local creator, just anything else, and people like respect it. Like, hey, I paint, I do this, I work with glass. Then they hear local rapper, and it's like it's still like a thing on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so I think the poetry events was a nice way to kind of widen the net. You know, like, hey, it's more welcoming, it's more, you know. So that's where we started with it, and then you know, like I said, we're moving on to phase 2, I guess, is more into the music.
Which is so interesting, okay? Because I've been to one of the open mics, and there were a lot of poets that had gone to previous open mics, and just a lot of poets in general. And I knew New Bedford in this area could be really artistic, but I know that we have a lot of local rappers.
Right.
I didn't know that we had a lot of local poets. And I don't even know what kind of events or areas would even put on poets besides your open mics. So I guess you really just saw that open market and then took advantage of it.
Yeah, so the past couple of years, there's definitely been some more that's popped up, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
But at the moment, and I feel like just around Rhode Island and Mass, there's been more the past like 3 years, maybe since COVID.
Okay.
But at that time, I feel like it was just kind of bubbling up. That first one I went to in Quincy, you know. But yeah, man, you need a platform for people. You know, like so many people write poetry, whether they start in high school or college. And maybe they're still passionate about it or they fell off, but it's a nice way to like bring those people in, creative, and just to have like a vibe going, you know, like just to have a place where you can grab food, grab a drink, but not be like a club or just anything hectic, you know what I mean? So it's a nice blend of like cool little vibe on a Friday. It's more mature, but still younger people enjoy it as well, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's important for the community, I do, you know?
And so you were talking that the open mics are the first step to AMP. Okay. And then we were talking about the second step is networking.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because the first networking event that you hosted, okay, I was lucky enough to be there. It was amazing. But
Appreciate it.
I don't want to say but, and it was kind of like a party. It was like a little, it was amazing.
Right.
But then it was great networking. There were booths and vendors.
Yeah.
So were you at all inspired by, or like, was it similar to that first open mic / party that you went to, or did you kind of try and make your own thing?
Yeah, I think with the networking events, we kind of just came up with something different.
Yeah.
Because you think about, I've been to a couple of networking events, and I feel like they've always lacked something, you know? Like, shout out to everybody for trying, not to put people down, but just me walking in, it always felt like, and especially as a creative person, you know, like I'm imagining something like, man, if they only had this, if they had that, you know, it always felt like something was missing. So I was like, man, maybe we can just pull the pieces together and do our own event and have it be.
What did you feel was missing? Was it the fun? Like, was it the games part, you know, or what was it?
Yeah, so it's because I've been to a couple different ones. So sometimes it is the fun. Sometimes it kind of a little stiff. You know what I mean? Like you want to loosen up a little bit, meeting people, you know? And sometimes you feel like it's really hard to connect with people, you know? So I know we just did this first networking event. When was that? November, October?
Somewhere around there,
In the
October,
fall.
November.
Yeah. So we even planned on, like, we already brainstormed how we can make it better from there.
Okay.
Because we didn't know, like, it was fun, but I don't know if people got the chance to really connect and talk about goals as much as we wanted to. I think it got in there a little bit, and maybe at the end when people are outside chatting, but, you know, I think we're going to figure that out. But I've been to an event where I walked in, let's say it was like from 5 to 9 or something, so I get there at 6:30 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah, when it's warmed up.
And it felt a little, I don't want to say clicky, but when you get there late, people are in their groups chatting, and you don't want to just walk up and interrupt. Like, I'm not the type of person. Some people have that energy, but you know, so I kind of step aside. Me and my girl are there. We have a drink. We're looking around, but it kind of felt hard to interact with people.
For sure.
Versus a game, it's like, hey, we're playing flip cup. Then
we're
you
on the
just
same
jump
team.
in. You just jump in there, then you meet the person. So
For sure.
I feel like introducing the games in a party was a nice way to like make it more mingling versus just like trying to figure out, all right, you know, they look like they're having a super important conversation. I don't want to interrupt. So I think we kind of found that balance.
And you found a perfect way to bring different people who don't know each other to interact with each other. Because you're totally right that people are just naturally cliquey, or they'll show up to the event with whoever, like with their person. And then just go to a table, kind of feel it out, but they don't know how to go to a new person and just go up to talk to them. But put them on the same team, you know, already talking, and they'll chop it up afterwards.
Exactly. So it's kind of that psychology of like, you know, having to break things up. Because people like to be comfortable. You might go to a networking event knowing, hey, I'm going to meet people, but still, you might go with friends, and now you're just at the table with friends and whatever's happening. So it's like, how do you push people outside of that box without making them uncomfortable? In a nice way is games, you know, like sports. You know, I could be at the basketball game playing pickup. Someone needs another player, I jump in, and I don't know these people, but it's like, all right, it's my team now. Like, whoever you guys are, it's my team. So I think those games is a nice way to, like you said, break the ice, you know.
And so I was actually just at a career panel this past week, and it was really professional. It was at the JP Morgan offices in Boston. It was an alumni event for my high school, and it was really educational, I guess, and there was a panel of like 6 professionals, but I left like right afterwards. I mean, because one, I don't drink, and like they're offering drinks and whatever, and like they offered sliders, but I'm just like, okay, like this was, like I felt a little bit uncomfortable. Like, not only was I like the only black guy, but I don't know, there was something missing. You know, I'm just like, okay, I guess if this is it, you know, and it is, even though I can be an outgoing person sometimes, it really helps if there's something at the event that will help break the ice and help you bring you out of your shell.
Help bring that character out, you know? Because you can be outgoing in some instances, but you have to find that, you know? Like if it's something you're passionate about, but like I said, just meeting random people, you kind of reserve. I think everybody gets like that, you know? You're just like, all right, how do I fit in? Who are those people? You know, like you said, you don't even want to interrupt. Like, I'm that type of person. I don't really like bothering people, you know? So I feel like that. I'm like, man, maybe I'll chat with them whenever I get the chance, but if they're in the circle, you know, I'm not about to just go over there like, hey guys, you know, and like, you know, so no, I definitely get what you're saying.
And I showed it with my girlfriend too, so it was just like, it was hard to leave her, and it's just hard. It's hard to network successfully, and it's really dependent on the person hosting it and making a comfortable environment. So props to you for just doing it successfily.
Appreciate that. I guess you could call it successfully, you know.
And it's just a start. But
it's the start. Because I'm hard on myself. Like when I envision something, and I feel like people might have experienced, let's say 70% of it, just a number, right? Then like, oh, that was great. I'm like, you wait till it's 100%. So I'm that person. But I appreciate you. You know, I'm glad you had fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we're gonna find more ways to really, like, I think, you know, the icebreakers and stuff like that, the games made it fun, but we do want people to talk about their goals a little bit more and kind of really find that balance, you know? Not that I don't feel like the event was unbalanced, but to really give everybody a chance to say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and, you know, this is my goal. This is something I'm looking for. So that way, if somebody in the room could help, I don't know if people got the chance to really talk about that. Like, hey, 2025, I want to work on this. Let's say, for example, me is do more interviews. So I would have liked to speak to the group and say, hey, if you know anybody doing interviews, let me know. Something like that, where it's like quick, boom. So now when somebody's walking around interacting with friends or, you know, their coworkers, it's just something like pops up, like, oh yeah, Justin said he was looking for that, boom. You know, so that type of energy a little bit more.
And because in your mind, you're picturing, I mean, this is my perspective, but like each letter in Amped being a different facet of the creative experience. And like you'd want everyone to like either bring their own thing or represent one of those letters, you know? And the only way that's going to work is if everyone knows what everyone's doing.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Because you can see, you know, if there's 50 people at the event, you probably won't be able to speak to 50 people.
Exactly.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But the other side of that too is even though AMP is the acronym for the group of 6 people, I think a network and building a community is really people outside of that who could just help.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So real estate agents like Brandon, you know, whoever comes, it's just we can all help each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, hey, this is music, hip hop based. It's like whoever comes,
Yeah.
how can we help you? How can you help us? We're all connected at the end of the day. So we didn't want to limit who shows up, you know?
Yes. Okay. And so this episode's wrapping up.
It's quick. Oh man.
Exactly. I was trying to tell you.
We might have to
okay?
do 4 now.
So we're gonna have a part 2, okay? And so we didn't even touch on the cooking, okay?
Right, yeah, yeah.
And how you're inspired and how that's going.
Yeah.
And do you see your cooking side as a part of AMPed, or is that something totally separate?
I would say it's separate. The last poetry event we did, we switched it up. You know, we used to do it at the pub.
Yeah.
But you know, we're trying to find creative ways to maybe make more money or just have more control of the environment, because it can be tough at a bar. The back of the bar it might be a little loud because they're not there for the event, right? They just walk into their favorite bar and it's like, hey, what's that over there? You know. So we rented out a venue and then I was able to cater my food. So it's recently been tied in.
Okay.
But technically it is separate though. It's just a separate thing. But
Sure.
I've been able to find a way to tie it in. You know.
And so you do bring up money. Like, do you see the events, and this can be the last question, do you see the success in the amount of people who show up, or are you trying to have like a monetary goal that you're trying to reach?
It's tough too because like of course we want the building to be packed, all this type of stuff, but still when it's 30 people and it's like we still had a great night. Like we'll always leave, like we'll start the event, like you can kind of tell if it's gonna be busy and out early on, you know, like whether it's packed because people are there or it's like it's looking like, you're like, oh boy, you know, so we always get this nervous feeling like, are people gonna show up, are there enough poets? But we always make it a great night no matter
Yes,
what.
you do.
So of course the numbers are in the back of my mind, but as long as people have fun, I don't want people to feel like they drove here, took the night off,
Sure.
and like, man, it was kind of wishy-washy, you know what I mean? So we want people to enjoy it, that's it. You know?
Okay, so it's the experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching part 1. This has been Wake Up New Bedford with Justin Callender, and catch us with part 2 where we continue this conversation, talk a little bit more about cooking, and wrap up the essence of AMPed and his business and where it's going in 2025.
Right.
Thank you so much, and catch us in part 2. Peace.
I'm running